you buy a home to live in, or are you better off renting? Now, saving up for years for a down payment and then paying monthly loan installments for 15 to 20 years on a home loan that you take, is it really all worth it? On the Property Show today, we thrash out the buy versus rent debate with Bhavna Nagrani, Wealth Advisor at Prudent Investors. Also with us, Amit Goyal, CEO of India Sotheby's International Realty, and Rakesh Nangia. He's a reputed chartered accountant and MD at Nangia Anderson, India. Thank you so much, Bhavna and gentlemen, for joining me. As a stage setter to this discussion, here are some of the points I'd like our audience to keep in mind. A bulk of the savings by Indian households go into investing in real estate. According to the Reserve Bank of India data, almost two-thirds of India's household savings are held in physical assets like real estate and gold. The recent stock market bull run, though, has brought in many more people into investing in financial assets like stocks and mutual funds than ever before. The number of individual investors in the stock market has increased by a whopping 142 lakh in the financial year 2021, counted by the new demat accounts opened for stock trading. Now, the third point to keep in mind before this discussion, the more digitally savvy millennials, or those born between 1981 to 1996, who are now in the age group of 25 to 40, are less inclined towards owning assets, more comfortable with renting, is what the general opinion is or feeling is. This, of course, in comparison to the previous generation, also known as Gen X, for those born between the years of 1965 and 1980, whose age bracket is now 40 to 55 years. For them, owning a home was perhaps the highest priority for their savings. All right, Bhavna, I'm going to come to you first. The young couples I meet today in their 30s don't seem to be in a hurry to own a home. I mean, in my generation, we all started thinking of buying a home as soon as we got a little comfortable on our savings. So what's your view on buy versus rent?
Absolutely. So the millennials today might want to, forget about before even thinking about buying a home, even in their jobs, they might want to take sabbaticals, they might want to pursue further studies, they might want to backpack across the world or volunteer an NGO. When it comes to the question of buy versus rent, especially, for young professionals who are ambitious, now this is a question of career growth, because all the opportunities that come knocking at the door are not going to be in the same city where they are based in currently. What are you going to do? Are you going to say no to career growth because you're based in one city, because you own a home in one city? I don't think so. And when it comes to the question of rent, in India today, the rent is typically about 3% of the house value. That is a very, very promising and preferable option, which is why many do opt for renting versus buying. Also, when it comes to flexibility, our needs and requirements of a home really change over the years. I'll give you an example of my own family. My husband's office relocated a couple years ago, much further away from where it was before. And we were considering acquiring another home that was closer to the office. Today, my daughter is 3 years old, and I'm thinking of acquiring a home, but only after her admission into school is confirmed, because I want a home which is much closer to that. Now, for young millennials, these kind of life events, changes are going to happen pretty often and pretty soon.
So, Bhavna, are you saying that you are looking at acquiring a home? You are in the millennial bracket.
Yes, but when I say acquire a home, I don't mean buy one. I mean acquiring a home to have shelter, to seek shelter, to have a home.
You're saying that you will rent it out and you want that flexibility of renting it out. Okay, I'll come back to you.
Absolutely.
You've also done some very interesting calculations on the basis of a 50 lakh rupee loan at 7.5% interest rate, which shows that over 20 years period, renting will actually save you a little over 5 lakhs. But math is difficult in terms of showing on a television screen. So we'll come back to that later.
Okay.
Amit, I think everybody who looks at a spreadsheet and does the math says that why would you buy a home in India, or, especially when your rental yields are so low at 2 to 3%. It's okay in the US and the UK. London today will give you a 7 to 8% or 9% rental yield. But in India, you're still getting only 2 to 3%.
Thank you, Manisha, for having me on the show. Absolutely. India is a market where rental yields are far lower than most of the other developed markets. They're also lower than the mortgage rate that exists in our country. So thanks to interest rates coming off now from 9.5% to about 6.5%, At present, my recommendation would be certainly buy a home. It definitely provides security and stability for the family. It also makes long-term investment sense due to capital appreciation, and also rather than paying rent, if one pays EMI on a monthly basis, then you end up owning the property after 10, 15, 20 years, whatever your mortgage period is. And especially in a market like India, where as a society there are dependent members on the bread earner of the family, and for dependent members owning their own home, life is fragile. We've all seen difficult times during the pandemic last 18-20 months, when the house where the entire family stays is owned by the family, that does provide a lot of sense of security and stability.
In fact, the psychological security that you're talking about, everybody is talking about it during the COVID period. Having a home, and suddenly there's a acceleration in real estate sales, especially residential sales, which were in a lull for the longest time. Rakesh, psychologically, even today, a middle class family in India believes that, there is no way that they can't own a home and go out there and tell their peers and their family that, we are living on rent. There is still a certain amount of unhappiness about telling your family that I'm on rent. Do you think it's mostly psychological why people buy it, because of the security that it comes? And is it changing that much with the millennials?
I think Manisha, the important thing is you don't have a tick box answer for this. There is no straight line answer. There is no standard answer for these things, actually. It depends on the demographic size of the family. It depends on what is your job profile. Are you in a government servant, or in a private in a private job, or you are into self-employed? It all depends on the host of the factor before you take a decision on this matter is concerned. But so if you ask me, it is very individualistic. It is highly aspirations wise also to own a house. But coming to your point is concerned, yes, owning a house at certain age of life. Now this is very specific and individualistic. There's a pride in it. There's a social status in it. And there's a security in it. But my question comes with an overrider is, what is the age, the job profile, the size of the family? This all depends before you take take a decision on this, whether to own a house or to rent a house.
So you're saying there is no straight answer. Bhavna, rent is an expense. I understand that 2 to 3% yield, and it's still, on an expense sheet or on an Excel sheet, you definitely will end up saving. But rent is an expense, and you're not creating anything solid, a physical asset, which a lot of people consider as waste. So counter that for us.
I'm very glad you brought this up, because this is a very, very prevalent mentality that rent is a waste of money. It's an expense for which you don't receive something of value in return. What I would like to state is that someone who is renting is a real estate tenant, whereas someone who is buying on EMI is a financial tenant. So when you take an EMI, there are two components, the principal and the interest. The principal, yes, you are acquiring proportional ownership in a physical asset in real estate, but that interest component which you're paying is basically rent which you're paying on money which you're using to buy that asset. Whereas the person who is renting is saving all that money and can use that to buy any asset of choice, real estate, physical, etc., after he saved up that period.
So you're saying there is a saving involved in it, and why do you think that you cannot invest that saving elsewhere? Okay, now we're also, Amit, at a historical point, or rather a cusp, I would say, in terms of the real estate charts on pricing. For the longest time, there's been a lull. Everybody is now talking about the fact that property prices are likely to rise. Tell me, if they do end up rising 7, 8, 9, 10% with the tax benefits that the government's giving for first-time home buyers, do you believe that that will negate the low rental yield? Because, I look at all the ultra-high net worth and HNIs, they continue to buy real estate. It can't be that dud a proposition.
Absolutely, Manisha. That's a great point you made. Interest rates have become softer, and also since 2013 property prices, if you see, they have remained more or less stable, or rather they've come down. So in a way, the rental yield about 8-9 years, which used to be in the range of 1 to 1.5% in our country, has now gone up to about 2.5 to 3% by the virtue of interest rate softening and also real estate prices softening. I am a firm believer that now market has already started, seeing some recovery over the last, 2 or 3 quarters, and that trend should continue. So these are, in my opinion, right times where one should look to buy a home. People who've been sitting on the fence to take advantage of the price drop and also the interest rates.
In the IT cities of Pune, sales have been fantastic. Hyderabad has been fantastic. So I'm just wondering, are we making a very blanket statement that millennials are not keen to buy real estate? Because really, these are the young IT professionals who are buying up and lapping up real estate. Look at the sales numbers of all of the listed companies in the real estate segment. So is it just pent-up demand and people are now, because they can't invest elsewhere, are saying that real estate is a great place to be? What's going on? What do you think?
See, historically, when you see the pent-up demand, it is on a low denominator also. Then you see a spurt coming up. Exactly.
Right.
For 2 years, there were no there, and immediately there's a spurt of demand has come up. See, for the millennial, they are all more savvy on the financial assets investment. They think they have a long time to go forward in their life to have an asset. Today, they think the ROI that they may get it on investing in the financial assets can be 2-digit, 10, 12, 13, 14, 15%, as compared to the real estate, which may see a temporary spurt. But you see the whole decade in the past, the prices have been more or less not giving you any good ROI when you were investing in the real estate, in the residential house. In my opinion, it's again the age what you reach to, then you take a demand.
So give me that age.
Classical example.
Give me that age. What is the age where you think that owning an asset,
exactly,
a home at least to live in, I'm not even talking about investment, but a home of your own to live in is important and critical?
Yeah, one of my friends, if they wanted to buy a house or to invest in a business, I say invest in your business, you will multiply your money more, and house can wait for some time because the appreciation is not likely to be so much than the return you are going to make it by investment in the business. So what I'm trying to say, you have to balance out. Millennial age is not today there to own a house at that age, but the moment you cross that age, now you start becoming mature, you have a more stability coming up, then you start looking to have a house. So it's actually the age factor. You become more matured, you become more stable in your profession, in your business, what you're doing it. You're stable in the city where you want to live also. You have a more definitiveness coming up. You don't know if I'm a transferring job, why should I invest in a house? I do not know what I'm going to do. And my rental yield will be 1.5 to 2% actually.
Okay. All right. We're going to leave it there. Like Rakesh said, there is no clear answer. It depends on your state of mind, your age, your stability factor. But yes, owning a home at a certain age might be something which is important to you. Go ahead and do it. Interest rates are fantastic. And if it's not, you want to be footloose, then continue to rent. Bhavna, Amit and Rakesh, thank you very much for joining us today for this important discussion.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Manisha. Thank you, everybody. Thanks.
Coming up next, the Supreme Court judgment has upheld the Allahabad High Court direction to demolish the twin towers being constructed by the builder Supertech, saying it is illegal construction in collusion with Noida Development Authority. How will this order impact other home buyers in Supertech projects? Stay with us for that important discussion.